I'm going to go live now. Hey, this is Bill Gross, Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. And Eastern is very important today because we have today a very special guest. I was talking yesterday to my coach, Chad Corbett, and he mentioned that he was being interviewed by a big probate attorney in Florida. I said, well, there's only one. And he's on my show tomorrow night, and that's Al Nicoletti. Now, I don't know if you saw the YouTube last night with Chad and Al. It was fire. It was pure fire. You should see it, even though I hate to see you not watching my YouTubes. Definitely check out Al and Chad. They did a great job. I think a little more on investment. But so this is Bill Gross, Probate Weekly, every Thursday for investors, wholesalers, real estate agents, vendors, attorneys. We talk all things probate real estate, try to help you be a better practitioner. My vision of this is that we should be getting better at it weekly. I'm not selling coaching, though I have a link for coaching program we'll talk about that I recommend. But I'm not selling anything. I'm here to sell you and help me build our business together by being better practitioners and more professionals, sharing ideas, leads, and such. So there's a couple ways you can participate. We stream this live on YouTube. We stream it live onto Facebook. But when you come on the Zoom call and participate, we'd love to have you. The more you participate, the more money you make. So take off the mute and ask a question when it's appropriate. Raise your hand. Put in something in the chat box. If you're watching us live on YouTube or Facebook or even on the stream, put a question there and we'll do our best to get an answer back on that. A couple quick housekeeping items. I have a Facebook group. We're going to try to move the offline discussion on Facebook to Probate Experts. It's a group in Facebook, Probate Experts. And I'll put the link in the notes. So if you want to just click on that and sign up. We have 233 members and counting. And the ideas are to post probate related content, but questions. And I get regularly their questions, and that way we can answer the same ones over and over again. Also, if you're watching this, our YouTube stream is Bill Gross EXP, at Bill Gross EXP. So love to have you there. Like and subscribe if you want to see more of that kind of content. Another thing I want to share with you is that for real estate agents in particular, if you're interested in some coaching, my first real estate coach was Don Hobbs, past president of Success Magazine. And he has a program called Gateway to Mastery. It's free if you join their Facebook group. I know Patricia's on the call, she was in it. It's a 13-week program. They're recording it because they're trying to create a product with it, but it's free. If you go into the Facebook group, there's a free link to the Gateway to Mastery. As a member of that Facebook group, you can get in free. It's a couple hours, it's homework, world-class coaches. So if you're a real estate agent, you should check that out as well as an opportunity to improve your business. Okay, enough up front. Like I said, I don't know what else to say about the guy. I remember I talked to him the first time we had him on a couple years ago, year and a half ago. And we talked on the phone. He said to me, well, what should I say? And I said, Al, I can tell already. I'm just going to wind you up and let you go, and you're going to go. So let me introduce to our Probate Weekly group a guy who's become a friend of mine, one of the top probate attorneys in the state of Florida, and a real educator for real estate agents and investors on the subject of probate and in Florida as well, Al Nicoletti. So, hey, Al, how you doing?
Bill, thank you so much for having me on. I mean, how are you doing? It's been a while since I saw you on the Zoom and everything, like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it has been a while. It's been crazy. I think I had you like in the beginning when I started doing this with interviewing attorneys and interviewing people, and it's been a wild run, man. I mean, the last 2 years of my career have been the best of my career ever by a mile in terms of volume and in terms of quality. And I know it's been hard for people, and I try to be sensitive to that, but it's been a wild ride. And then building the show has been great. I've also watched you. You're ahead of me, man. You're ahead of me as subscribers and viewers. So I'm taking copious notes when I watch you.
Thank you, Bill. It's a work in progress. I can't say that it's been easy, and it's been frustrating and trying to get through different things and trying to work out the cameras and the switchboards. But always thinking and developing. And that's always something you should do in your business. Is whether it's probate or trying to run a podcast or a studio, is always mold and change. Just like the opener yesterday. I don't know if you caught that. It was a brand new opener. Now Bill Gross is going to go back and watch the Al Show again. I think from the beginning.
I think I came in live. I wanted to be on the live part rather than from the beginning. I missed it by 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, I'll look at that.
We're personalizing everything about it, right? Making things differently when it comes to the show. So, I mean, there's always something happening, and we're trying to change it. We're in season 3 right now, but now you see all the guests that I'm having on the show. Now I had to get a second shelf. I had to get a whole second shelf there. It's empty right now, but we're building it out. So it's going to be really good.
So when you say the shelf, those are people you had on to have a book or have some sort of a mentor-related. Profit First, love that book.
Yeah.
We could just take a tour of his shelf. Forget your knowledge about probate. Just show me your shelf, man. Let's go through that.
All right. So probate
No,
is, we're just moving title. That's all we're doing. So, but this is just everybody that's been on the Hive Mind. They're in San Antonio. I've had Whitney Ritchie. She does insurance here in Jacksonville. And then John Alexander, the land mogul. I mean, John's got, he was on the show, the Cash.
On the free book. If you're on last night, you had 10 free books.
Right. Yeah. I mean, signed memorabilia. I don't even know where they were. The signed memorabilia right there.
Forget the Babe Ruth baseball card. If you have a signed book by the land mogul.
Yeah. So it's working. Everything's working.
So two things that I would say are unique about you, and we'll get into probate a bit, but two things are unique about you. One is you don't sound like the typical attorney I talk to. Your energy, your smile, just overall. Do you notice that being different, and what do you attribute that to? Or is that something you've developed, or is that just your nature? Like, what's that all about?
That's just who I am. It's something that I've been able to figure out on what has worked for me on the law firm side of things, and where my talents are, where my focus should be. I shouldn't be behind the desk, doing all the paperwork. I need to be out doing more of the front man stuff, the showman stuff, and just really, finding my mold in the law firm. So a lot of that background, I think is just, personality. And you see the violin up there, my ability to just really be in front of people with no fear, no nerves. Of course, when I first started speaking at things, there's always nerves, right? You're always going to have those nerves, but I've just developed a way of just constantly being in front of people. Just like anybody with their business, the more you do it, the better you get, the more the different things you see, the different experiences you get, and the way you answer questions, you interact. And so it's no different than doing what I'm doing and being a different out of the box thinking type of lawyer, right, Bill? It's always think outside the box. What are people looking for? What do people want? What are investors seeing? There's all these things in books. Like I was thinking about that the other day when I'm thinking, I got to find my next video. What's my next walk and talk on the golf course? What's my next thing on the beach? And what I realized it's frequently asked questions from you all. Right? Like that's what you want to know. What's in a video and knowledge is great. I mean, anybody can do that, but it's the practical side of our business that matters when it comes to our educational content. So that's the out of the box thinking about what's in the lens of Bill Gross, what's in the lens of the top investors, the big investors, or students just starting out. Right? Whether it is what is probate or how do you solve a really wacky situation, let's talk about it. So I'm going to start doing that new session called Hot Topic Frequently Asked Question. I'm going to have the logo. It's going to be like the zapper that comes in and then hot I got the whole thing in my head of what it's going to be, but anything we can do to answer questions on that stuff. That's the big thing.
That's just Al being Al, everybody. So good. Second thing I want to say is, and to your point about improving and working, it reminds me of Rosanna Dana, if you're old enough to remember that from Saturday Night Live, one of the original comedians in the show was, it's always something, right? In marketing and business, it's always something that you have to work on and improve, and it's a never-ending, it's a process, not a destination. I see that with your show. The second thing about you that I find really unique is that the energy that you do, I know that in big firms, there's like the senior partners, and they spend all their time making it rain. And then almost all the rest are primarily practitioners who almost abhor doing any marketing. Maybe they'll speak at appropriate legal events, right? And you are obviously very painfully aware of marketing, positioning yourself, the style, not just getting out there, which is one thing, but the way you do it. Tell me about that as an attorney, because that is unusual.
I think that really started when I was down in Miami about, I don't know if it was 4 or 5 years ago, about what was a different way of being and getting business in front of people. So my first mentor, Dennis, I worked for Dennis. And when I was with Dennis, like day 2, he was like, come on, let's go. We're going to a lunch. So I was like, where are we going? And where we went was a business association meeting. And when I went there, I'm thinking, all right, there's probably gonna be lawyers and, all other professionals. And really it wasn't, it was just, it was business owners, people with roofing, realtors, different types of industries. And it was that point when I kept going to those events that I saw, you know, a networking thing happening, but it was at one of those lunches where they put the mic in front of people. I mean, they just passed the mic. And I don't know about you. I mean, you know, drop a comment. How many of you love when you go to lunch and they say, we're going to pass the mic and everybody has to go around and say a few words? I'm one of those. I don't like that. I mean, I think those are, they're not productive to me. They have there's no driven purpose unless the purpose of the mic is to make some kind of statement about something. But there's no purpose driven thing. So I love, what's the purpose of being here? What's the purpose of this and that? And that's why I like shifting my marketing strategies to certain things, right, Bill? It's purpose. So, and then all of a sudden I'm in Jacksonville and I realized, I'm like, how do I get this out? How do I get this idea of probate out there? And it was something clicked with speaking and being in front of audiences, being in front of classes and teaching. Something about teaching and the educating. And that's when it started clicking for me. I did my first course on tax deeds. I had to learn all about them. You know, what do you do with tax deeds in Florida? Eventually you can quiet the title if somebody buys it from the tax auction, unless they hold it for 4 years. But I was teaching all about, like, you know, what liens are eliminated. You know, what is the tax deed? How long do you have to wait if you don't want to do quiet title? What's quiet title? So I think that started picking up, you know, giving back value, giving back information, right? Even like something like this call, giving back tidbits on what somebody can do, whether it's being a lawyer, being an investor, being a realtor, giving back tidbits even to people that don't know what's going on. Then came the probate train, right? Like I said, if I'm going to do this with tax deeds, like it's got to work with probate, right? And 2019, before the pandemic, just got up there. I mean, it was a classroom of 90. The air conditioner broke down. I think because there was too many people in there. And from there,
I mean, you brought the heat.
Brought the heat. I mean, I brought that heat. From there, it just took off. And so now, fast forward 3 years later, Bill, because I saw that vision in what was working then, now I'm traveling to all the RIAs around Florida. I'm speaking at the New View conference. I'm doing more Zooms and more webinars. I'm doing the show. And there's a knowledge power. There's a space of authority when it comes to knowing your craft and being able to help and educate others that go through these sticky situations, and it comes back, right? So you give and it comes back. And I saw that with speaking.
You know, it really wasn't my intention, to be honest. You talk about purpose-driven. I just enjoyed doing this when I started. And my only criteria was that I had somebody on that I enjoyed talking to. And if I enjoyed it and they streamed it, I figured other people who enjoy it will hang out too. I didn't really have that. But the truth is, when somebody calls me about a probate now and asks me, I'm hoping for a question that I can give them an answer by sending them a link to my video, because now they see me teaching a group of people. And I go from just being a real estate agent, giving them an answer, to I'm an authority on probate, or some level I'm an expert on probate. And it just shifts the whole discussion. They're not interviewing me anymore. Now they're trying to qualify to get my attention because they know I'm a busy guy and I have a lot. So you're right on. Now, another thing about your business that changed recently, and again, I don't know how much you're comfortable talking about. I don't want to cause any problems, but I know when I spoke to you a year and a half ago, you were part of a firm. Mm-hmm. And I know that today you're a sole practitioner.
Yeah.
It says that the law firm is your firm by yourself.
Yeah.
And while you're probably an independent contractor before, but from a marketing and an image and a process, and you and I spoke about this when we booked this, and I said I wasn't surprised. I could see that it just made sense to me, what I knew about you. Tell me about what happened that you can share, and what was your thinking about that?
Oh, no problem. I was killing it when I was at the other firm. Anybody in this group that is absolutely killing it in their leads in real estate, raise your hand. You're right. How many people in here are really doing their own stuff, even though you're with a brokerage, right? Well, I don't know. Maybe nobody's going to say it, but I mean, I'm going to say it. I mean, I was bringing in leads left and right. So Bill, last time we talked, 2019, I brought in like 35 probates. 2020, I brought in 90 probates to the law firm. And that's not firm probates. I mean, that was like driven probates to that firm from all the business, right? In 2021, it became 150. So you could see I was bringing in, over 250 in the last 3 years.
Nicoletti train, man.
Yeah, get on the train now. Listen to Bill when he tells you like probate's the thing now, because we're talking about it now, but in 10 years, the room's going to be like 100, 150 people in here about learning probate. But Bill, I was bringing so many leads in, I could do it on my own. But what was happening was I needed help. Where I needed help was on the operating side of things, on the business side of things, on checks coming in and notating it. So on accounting and bookkeeping. So I didn't have that opportunity. So I needed that. And then when I made enough, I needed an assistant. So I could talk about this even now because it just shifted again about what's kind of happening. But I needed an assistant. I can't keep doing certified mail. I can't keep doing all the paper clips and all the printing. I needed to do the hard stuff. I needed to pound out probate. So that's when it kind of shifted a little bit in the firm, was when I finally got an assistant, and I needed the assistant for what I needed, not what the firm wanted. And then it became about the split and the money. And all of a sudden it's like, well, wait a second, we already have an arrangement. We're not going back to it. I said, this is enough, and I said, I'm done. I had a whole weekend to figure it out. It was very clear in my mind. 1 hour after the conversation, I already knew what my decision was. I made it. I said, I'm done. I'm done.
I was not at all surprised. I mean, I've met enough attorneys to know, it's one thing if they're bringing big cases, you want to work like in LA, real big entertainer, celebrity cases. And that requires a lot of muscle and marketing and advancing cash and such. But what you're doing, no, it just makes a lot of sense to me. Well, good. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Can you believe it hasn't been a year since I left?
I know that. I know it hasn't been a year.
It's wild. I mean,
watch what happened, and I knew it. And I was cheering on, like, yeah, you do it. Yeah. So, okay. So look, I want this to be interactive. So if you have a question, number one, put in the chat box. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook Live as well, put it in the chat box. I'll pick up on those. I'll be looking for those. If you're on the Zoom call, you can raise your hand. Be ideal. Or at the right spot, a little tougher. I see you, Ed. You'll be the first question of the day. But because I see you're in the chat box as well. But feel free to jump in. Let's make it participative. So Ed, well, yes, you got a great question here. I think I know the answer, but rather than me, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes, it's like, so how do you get your leads? I mean, I know him for, in 2010, I went to a seminar and he was talking about reading books first, which is very important. And then he was talking about contacting attorneys, and I kind of let a bunch of letters and everything. And it was never successful, unfortunately. So I just gave up that business. And I know I make a huge mistake, but how do you get so many leads?
Well, hold on. You didn't see Al in 2010 on probate, because I don't think he was doing probate back then. You're confusing him with somebody else, right? So how? So, I'm sorry.
Can you repeat that question?
You didn't see Al in 2010. You saw somebody else maybe in 2010 talk about probate.
Oh, I thought you.
Oh, me personally.
Yeah, you.
Not about probate. I wasn't probate until 2019, maybe late 18, 19. Yeah, no, this is something I jumped into in 2018, 19. I mean, I was at a Mike Torres event. Probate's been around for a long time. In fact, I would say, thanks. Ed. I'd argue that Al, I don't think probate's gonna be a big thing 5 years from now. I think it's gonna be normal real estate, because it's gonna become so common and so important and central to real estate that we're all gonna have to learn it along the way. But the question for you, Al, is I think I know the answer. How do you generate leads? Do you buy the leads and mail to them? Do you cold call? Or is you speaking in your market? And of course, attorneys, there's some limitations on solicitation as well, correct?
Yeah. So on my end, a lot of the leads that ever come in are from investors that they have a lead that has to go through probate, and they got to get it going, right? So many of the leads that come for me, if not all, are from people that know what I do. So Ed, one of the things that Bill can tell you is that not only do I get these things done in Florida like really quickly, always depends on the county. A lot of people are like, oh, probate takes 6 months. I just had a phone call today, Bill, where the investor said, oh, I don't know if I want to do this if it takes 6 months. I said, who said it took 6 months? What? And I said, what county? And they're like, they told me where it was. I was like, 2 to 4 weeks. They're like, come on, what? So if I told you, you could do these things quickly and we wait until closing, every investor is caught on to that in Florida. So that's where, for me, on that end, it's different. On other lawyers, They may have been in the business for 30, 40 years. They have picked up cases from everybody in the community. Maybe they have organic leads, but the big leads for realtors, investors, several things have been hot lately. PPC campaigns and Facebook ads. So a lot of investors have been shifting their focus over to the PPC campaigns because these companies will find a motivated lead, and you may have to pay $400, $500 for that lead, but it's somebody that does want to sell, right? Maybe not necessarily probate, but maybe it's, a foreclosure, or they just want to sell and it's just super distressed. Maybe they have issues, IRS things, whatever it is. But those are hot leads. Yeah.
So just to clarify, PPC is pay per click. So what he's saying is what investors are doing, you're not doing PPC for yourself. You're marketing to investors and realtors who are bringing you the cases, correct?
Yeah. So investors and realtors are starting to do more of the pay per click Google campaigns.
They are.
Yeah.
But you're getting your leads because they're bringing those cases to you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm doing Facebook ads now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm having fun with doing the Facebook ad stuff. So I got my,
look at that smile.
Yeah.
Look at that.
It's out there and people can see it. They're commenting, they're liking. Totally different, right? It's, geared more to families and investors all at the same time. But it's no different. Like I've talked to investors about them doing PPC campaigns. They just love it. And then you have foreclosuresdaily.com. They have, all these leads out there, like pre-probate and probate. You buy data either weekly or monthly, and they'll give you a whole Excel spreadsheet. But then you got these new guys that roll out with these systems where you join their programs and you find a lead, and then you hit go through systems and they tell you where to go for it. There's so many different ways, but foreclosures, tax delinquents, tax deed about to go to auction. It could be anything. It could be maybe the way that the property's titled in the property appraiser. So Bill, fun fact, in Florida, somebody owns a piece of property and maybe a family member records the death certificate against that property. Sometimes the property appraiser will change the name of it from, instead of John Smith, they'll do John Smith Estate. So sometimes those could be probate leads because maybe they're already in probate, or maybe they're not in probate. Yeah, those could be huge.
Interesting. So and then the next question from Matthew Roach is, how do you initiate the first contact with the leads? And the answer there is you're getting them to call you, it sounds like.
Yeah, well, on the investor side, reach out to them. Just talk to one of them and find out as much as you can. They're not going to give you the whole story, and sometimes they're going to give you their version of the story until they talk to me. So one thing I learned in 2021, Bill, is there's a difference when a seller talks to the investor and then they get on the phone and talk to me, and then we find out the real story. Yeah. So the best thing that you can do is talk to them, have a conversation, say, look, I'm here to always be solution driven, not problem driven. So you want to have a solution, find out something going on. If the numbers don't work, that's a whole other story, right? If the deal's just not going to work, there's nothing you can do, but you got to find out and ask. Right. Then where I come in is if they haven't gone through the probate in Florida, that's when you're like, look, I mean, you could do whatever you want. You go wherever you want, but we know people that can wait until the closing to get paid. It's zero money up front. It's zero risk.
Well, how much up front again? I didn't see that. How much up front?
Zero.
Got it.
Zero. So you don't have to worry about anything. And that's really nice when you don't have to put skin in the game. Right. And wait until the end. And
not every attorney will do that. And
no.
And some will only do it with inheritance advances, which is expensive. So all those, credit, like any business, credit's a big part of a business when you're in retail. If you can help a customer by lowering the friction to do business with you, you're really putting yourself on the line that I'm willing to work for free basically to get started because I believe in my service enough to do that. That's fantastic. Rev Deb asks, am I with eXp Realty? Yes, I am with eXp. My YouTube channel is Bill Gross eXp. One says, who do I submit my offer to, the listing agent or the executor? What form to use, car form or the court purchase agreement? So if I could just jump in as a real estate broker, I can say the listing agent represents the executor or the estate. If it's an executor or administrator or an attorney or not, The listing agent is their representative. So if you find out they're represented, you need to go to the listing agent, at least in California. You can't go around the real estate agent. That would be violating their relationship with their client. In California now, we just changed. We used to have a separate purchase agreement for probate versus the regular. Now we use the same regular form with a purchase agreement addendum for probate. So we use the same form. That just changed as of, I think, January 1st. In Florida, do you guys use separate, are the purchase agreement forms the same, an addendum, or the purchase forms? How does that work?
I mean, different districts and different realtor associations use different forms. So like in Florida, in general, they have the Florida bar, FAR bar contract for, it's like 13 pages or 20 pages. It's loaded with all the provisions and stuff like that. A lot of people use, but then you come to NFAR in the Northeast Florida area. A lot of people use those contracts.
Florida's the Wild West, man. It's a whole different story.
It's a different story because you could be an investor and have a 2-page contract. I mean, it's just totally as is. You don't have all those other clauses in there, but people do as they wish. But as far as the listing, the better practice is in Florida, you get these situations where somebody lives and resides at that property. And let's just say mom lived there, dad lived there. And then when they died, they had 4 kids ever. And they're all alive. The better practice in those situations is just get everybody on the listing. Ultimately, the ultimate thing that everybody's going to have to sign, and if they're not in agreement with it, it's not happening, is the contract. Right. But for practices of getting things on the MLS and the price that's set, then you don't have to hear it later and go, wait a second, why did you set it at 175? We could have done 215. Right. So it helps. Best practice.
In California, we have California Association of Realtors, and there's a certification done by an attorney, Paul Horn. And Paul in his training says, and this is a little controversial, that you should be able to take a listing as long as you disclose the listing is not binding, unlike a regular listing. And like Alice said, get all the parties to sign it. That way everybody's on the same page. You're not hiding anything from anybody. And so I've done that on occasion. And EXP, we're allowed to do that, but you have to disclose everything. And then the MLS, same thing. You have to disclose. If you don't have a contract, you're kind of putting a bullseye on yourself, because an agent could say, oh, no binding contract. I'll talk to the seller since it's not binding. Something to think about, but that can be done as well. Okay. And again, if you have questions, feel free to put in the chat box, raise your hand. In the Zoom, you can put your hand up, or if you just wave your hand, I may or may not see you raising your hand, but feel free to do that. And if you're watching on the live stream on YouTube or Facebook as well, we monitor the chat boxes there, and feel free to put any questions there. Ed Neri, again, question number 2. Go ahead. Unmute yourself.
I have another question.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so what is the normal process? Let's say that you have a client that mom passed away, dad passed away, and they have a property with no trust, and it's going to probate. So what do you do after that? What is the normal process? Do you contact an attorney, or what's the normal process?
Normal process is, and you're talking about you to the family, right?
Yeah, let's say that I found a client that their mom and dad passed away and they didn't have a trust, so he's going to go to probate, right? And they need to sell a property.
And Ed, what state are you in? Where are you located?
California.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's going to be a Bill answer, and there's going to be the Al Florida answer, but the qualifier right there. Basically, Ed, a couple things that you're thinking in your mind is they want to sell the property. You have to think from start to finish. Who are the people in place that you got to get them in touch with or find out to make sure that you're not wasting time and they're not scrambling to find out. It goes deep in the family, right? Title companies. So making sure they're lined up with the right title company so that when eventually something goes to contract, that you find out that, hey, these are the people that own the property. Mom owned it. These are the requirements. There's a mortgage. You're not going to find out there's an IRS lien or anything. So connecting them with the title company eventually is going to be big. You may not do that up front, but have that in your mind about that, right? Then go to the property and see if it's something you even want to list. Maybe you want to buy. I don't know how you work those rules in California, but maybe it's an investment property. So you got to think in your mind, do you need to work with an investor on that kind of deal, or is it top listing, high listing for you? but you're also, some basic questions is, who are you talking to? Are you talking to the spouse? Are you talking to children? Are you talking to a cousin? Because if you start going really far beyond that line, you're probably not talking to the right people. But then you're starting to talk to a spouse or children, you're more or less in the ballpark. They may not tell you there's a will. They may tell you there's a will. It helps to ask, and say, look, this may help alleviate, the process. It may help things go smoother. Did they have a will? Right? Is there anything here? How many children are there ever? Is this a spouse? Okay, maybe he had no spouse when he died. Just confirm that he didn't remarry. Those little things actually can help a lot, because I just had a call, Bill, just now, where the investor thought that, and this is what happens. They talk to you and then they talk to me. They thought that when dad died, they had 2 kids or 3 kids. And they said, oh, okay, so they're going to get it divided up amongst them. And the son actually owned the other half. Then I talked to the son and I said, was he married? And then that's when it became like a scramble. I don't know. Was he married? Was he, they're scrambling through the papers. Was he married? He's married. He was married when he died. And it was like, why didn't we know that beforehand? And it's because obviously she doesn't want to sign anything. She wants no participation in this, and they have an issue with her. So, those kinds of things, had you asked up front, Ed, are you married? Or, was he married, would help not waste your time. That's a big thing I'll talk about. Make sure I don't forget, Bill, about probate's wonderful. But the other thing I've seen lately is some of the sellers that they can, if they start dragging you through and dragging your time away, it takes you away from your other projects you can make money on.
Right. Definitely. Okay, good. Ed, thanks. Great question.
Well, do you wait until you have the letters of testimony to be able to sell, or you can start the process prior to that?
So go for
I
it.
think we just covered that you can't legally make a binding contract without the letters, right? Any contract is subject to change. So you can't close escrow in California. You can't get title insurance without the letters, and a couple other things probably along the way, right? In California, you have to either have court approval or a notice of proposed action approved by filed for the title company. Not legally, but the title company wants your title without it. So you're going to need to get the letters before you can probably open escrow that will be binding.
In Florida, Ed, technically you can go under contract for homestead property with those 4 heirs, mom dies, 4 kids ever. Technically, they can go under contract before the probate's even begun. And in Florida, they have faster procedures for doing the probate. So sometimes there's a way to get that probate through. There's no letters of administration. See, this is why connecting with the professionals in the state that you're focused in is important, because each state's got different rules. Like Bill, he'll tell you all about the letters. If we don't have to do letters, we don't have, I'm out, let's do something really fast. Right. Yeah. So you have to connect.
We're still putting masks on and going to court proving our vaccinations. You guys have already sold the property and put it in the bank. A whole different world.
I know, but here I think they call letters of testimony, something like that, right?
Yeah.
That's the document that give you power to sell.
Correct. The formal authority. Correct.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then there's 2 parts in California again, and it varies by county here in LA, in Southern California or California. There's counties where you go to court, you have a hearing for probate authority. Nowadays they might approve it, ahead of time, and the court, some courts where the clerk prepares the formal order, the judge signs it right then and there. You walk out the door with your letters. In LA, you have to submit the form. The judge will not look at it on the spot. Usually a couple of days later, they nitpick it. It gets rejected back 2 or 3 times, very commonly. Each time about another week in between. So it might take you 30, 60 days to get the letters, the official certified copy that some people need. Now, even though you can go online and check and see the court issued the letters, and there's all that, we're still stuck with some rules from the 1960s that the banks and such want formal hard copies with certified copies on it. It's crazy.
That is really crazy. I mean, different rules in different counties. I mean, and same here. I mean, there's some orders you can send via email and you'll get them back same day. And then there's some counties that if you want to get that thing closed next week, I need a closing date.
Right.
I need to know what's going on. So yeah, everything's different.
I have a probate we bought with an LLC, and my client let his LLC expire. So we're trying to get reenacted. So the state has a whole process for reactivating. You can go in person, get an appointment. If you have an escrow, you need to prove that you have an escrow open on that. Like, that's how common that is.
Yeah.
We had a couple of questions that asked about when using Facebook, do you target certain audiences? And then also some questions regarding, do you reach out via phone calls? Like I can answer for Al, no, he doesn't. Do you do postcards? He was suggesting that investors might want to do that. He's an attorney, not the investor. You mentioned, so the question then I guess is Facebook ads. Can you share a little bit about your process? Are you targeting ads or certain keywords or certain processes you're using to generate a business for you? Again, remembering he's an attorney looking for probate cases, not a real estate agent or investor looking for houses.
Yeah. I mean, one of the big things I did was just outsource, right? So get with people that actually focus in that niche, you know? And they're really they're just general media stuff out there. There's nothing specific, no specific targeting. It's just general. And it's just, it's going all over the state of Florida. Just all of a sudden you'll just be on your phone. And, if Bill, you fly into Jacksonville, you fly into Miami, all of a sudden you're looking on your Facebook, you'll see it, you'll see it. Get with pros, get with professionals that know how to target the demographics. And it's amazing because you don't know anything for 3 months. And I saw stats lately about like where the certain age that was actually looking at it more than others. It was wild. I mean, a lot of the younger generation isn't on Facebook.
Right. Yeah, they're all on Instagram or TikTok or something even newer. Okay, and then so Matthew's asking about phone calls and emails, and I would say, and postcards. I would say that's not Al's business. He's suggesting investors do that. I do know I was on the alltheleads.com. Bruce Hill's a coach there, and he was doing training this week on marketing for probates, and he talked about postcards and letters and campaigns and phone call scripts. You might want to look into that, Matthew. I don't know if you have my email or something, send me a text. I'll be glad to pass on that info as well. Okay, again, want to be participative, feel free to jump in if you have any questions, if you have any things you'd like to say. This is an opportunity to talk to not just a pro in the probate space, but a professional in marketing and running a business. Al, I know you're in Florida. Are you licensed in other states, and or what do you know about other states as other than California? What do you know about other states in relation to Florida? How are they different?
Yeah, so I'm only in Florida. I'm only licensed here. I'm not going anywhere. Everybody's coming here apparently, so I'm not going anywhere. There's plenty of business to come. But yeah, I know other lawyers in other states. I don't know every state. I just had to give a referral for South Carolina. So if you're in South Carolina or you do anything over there, just drop a comment and I'll make sure when he's talking, I'll drop the contact in there. Or Arizona, I got somebody good over there that a lot of people use, a lot of investors use. Texas, I only know one guy that's a big guy with the title world, Alan Cheshker. He's over in Texas, and North Carolina, there's some investors. But the two states that are kind of interesting with probate that I've learned a little bit about, but I don't have to know everything, right? I just need to know a little bit. North Carolina and Texas. In North Carolina, apparently, if you get all of the heirs to sign an affidavit that they're the true heirs, apparently that avoids probate. They don't need to do probate. It's just what they call an affidavit of heirship. They don't have that in Florida. Bill could call me and say, Al, come on, I got all 7 of them. They've all signed. Let's just file it. They don't have that kind of thing in Florida. So that's something really unique about Texas. So if you focus in the Texas market, maybe that's something for you. North Carolina, apparently, if it's been more than 2 years from date of death, you also can do that affidavit of heirship thing. So that's kind of interesting too. A lot of people could go focus in that niche and say, well, North Carolina's growing and blowing up, so maybe that's where we go in the probate niche. But Florida, that's why it's been huge for me, because it just happens here. But just thinking out loud, maybe somebody in Georgia. I know a Georgia probate attorney. He's somebody over there, but you're hard pressed to find not only probate attorneys in other states, Bill, but responsive ones and good ones. That's just hard.
Yes, very hard. I will say in 2 weeks, I have a great attorney from Arizona, Rylas Dana, for the friend of a friend, does a great job. He's also in California. That's how I came to know him, but he's in Arizona. And I will say to you that if you're a real estate agent or investor in another state, and you have a great probate attorney that you'd like to share, I'm looking to interview attorneys in other states. We've opened up our team in Georgia, and we're looking to build into Florida and New York as well, most immediately. If you're interested in being a part of our team as a real estate agent on the XP team, probate team, let me know. I'd be more glad to talk to you about that as well. Okay. And Marissa asked about the marketing ideas and pieces. So there's two things I would recommend. One is alltheleads.com, alltheleads.com. And Bruce Hill did a class literally yesterday and today on marketing. He talked about letters and phone calls and scripts. He does a good job on the scripts. My first coach in probate, and really I think the best from what I've seen, and I believe I've taken all of them, is Chad Corbett at Probate Mastery. And Chad has built a huge business in probate and as an investor. He was a real estate agent, and then he went from there to build into a business based on coaching and training and data and such. And I'll put in the chat box. This is an affiliate link for me in that if you sign up, it does provide some compensation for me to give out free classes to people and things like that. So I'd appreciate the support. If it's something that you're thinking of doing, check on that link. I will say that I'm part of that program in that I host his weekly call sometime to time. I'll be doing more of that, I think, in the future. And also, really, I think of him as my coach. I mean, I really think of him as the person who really launched me in his business and has done very well. So I'd appreciate any support there as well. And he had on last night, he was a guest last night on the Nicoletti Show on YouTube, not to be missed on Wednesday nights at 5 p.m. our time, live, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Al, what's going on at night? Al Nicoletti, I would think you have all kinds of fun stuff going on, and here you are last night, 8 o'clock at night, talking probate.
Well, first of all, every RIA meeting happens on Thursday nights. And then nobody's doing anything Friday because they're all out with family and getting dinner at, getting the steakhouses. Right. And then Mondays, I think everybody's dealing with kids from the first day of school back for the week. Tuesdays, I could do Tuesdays, but Wednesdays, you get through the week, nighttime, the phone's not blowing up. Nobody's saying, I get so many calls. I must get at least 10 to 15 calls a day. On various things, sometimes more. So, at night, it's quiet. You can get through everything. And it's fun, right? Yeah, I have a blast. And Chad was great. So anybody that knows or has heard of Chad, go check it out. He was on my show last night. It's on my YouTube channel. Yeah. He went through all probate marketing. It was amazing.
He goes into detail. He'll go into detail on Facebook ads, and he knows what's worked and what hasn't. He's worked with numerous agents and investors who make $500,000 and up, and he can give those details. And he says, quite frankly, it varies from market to market where you are. Certain things will not work in Los Angeles that will work in some of the smaller markets. So you have to be aware of where you are. Jimmy Valiente asked a question. Jimmy, if you can unmute yourself, because I have a question. Yes, he asked this, and I get this question or a format like this. I'm sure you do too, Al, almost daily. I sold a property to a husband and wife more than 15 years ago. Several years later, the wife quit claim from the property. And a few years later, the husband passed away. The wife and the children still live in the property and continue paying the mortgage. The wife is asking what to do. Is this now a probate? So I think that there's enough information there that you have a good problem, but we don't have, from where I sit, not enough information to really know the answer. How did the quitclaim deed leave the property in the ex-husband's name? Did it have him as sold separate? Because I had a case where the wife quitclaimed off, but the husband, they were still married. And so technically she quitclaimed off, but who inherits the husband? In California life, the wife is going to, and technically they were still married. They initiated paperwork for marriage, but never for divorce, never finalized. So technically they're still married. So even though he gave her cash, and the kids are pissed because the kids are saying, hey, he meant to get rid of you for whatever the cash was, and the property is ours. And she's saying, he was my wife, my husband, so sorry. So Al, what are your thoughts? You must get these kind of questions. I think this is under the category of it depends who you're talking to, and you got to get more information.
No, I've actually, and I wanted to take that down as a frequently asked question for the Bill Gross Show, right? Right on my hot topic Q&A. You know, in Florida, you can't, if you're husband and wife, you can't convey without the husband and wife. So the title insurance would probably look at that deed as not being a valid transfer and go straight back to husband and wife. But here's the big picture. Husband dies and they were on that deed as husband and wife. In Florida, he dies first. She just records the death certificate, and then now she's 100% owner. So, you know, maybe that cures the issue, right? But here's where it gets sticky, is that when he's the only one on the deed and they're married and she does a quit claim to somebody else, that's when it's going to get sticky because she's not even on title. So whoever owns that property and then they convey it to Bill Gross, Bill's going to go to title insurance. Title insurance is going to say, hey, Bill, I know you got this as a sweet deal, but hey, this lady never really even owned the property. Yeah, she may have been the spouse. Oh, by the way, there's kids, so you didn't get their signatures either. You know, Homestead, Florida, we'll talk about that. But you didn't get them either. Now you got to go back and do a probate. And hopefully when you do the probate, you get deeds now again. You got to get them to deed out to you. So it varies from situation to situation about who's on the title together. But in the question Jimmy asked, you know, ultimately, big picture, end of the day, maybe a death certificate will cure it on title later. But just varies from title insurance companies.
Now, it's interesting because, you know, all this time you've never said anything like, you know, you're not giving legal advice, you're not representing people on the phone call. Any California attorney would spend 2 minutes giving me disclosures before they talk. And it's because California's so litigious. And one of the things I would say that also is, in California, the ex-wife or the kids may have no rights at all. That doesn't mean they're not going to get an attorney and they're going to file a lawsuit. Does not mean they won't file a lawsuit. It doesn't mean it won't cost you tens of thousands of dollars to solve the problem. You might win at the end, and they'll settle along the way is commonly what happens. So it's challenging. And I think in California, that's why we're different, whatever that means to you.
But you know, Bill, here's the disclaimer. It's all up to title insurance.
Yep.
So if title insurance says that this is a no-go, then it's a no-go.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, it's not even up to us in our world. That's where a lot of probate attorneys see. That's where a lot of realtors don't see it from our end. Is there's probate attorneys and then there's a title insurance world. And some attorneys just don't see what we have to do. I see from start to finish what we got to do. And if they say no, it's no. If they say yes, it's yes. We could argue all day. You could go to 3 different underwriters and you can go to Alliant, Old Republic, and Chicago, and they all said the same thing. What are you going to do?
Right. You can be right, but you're not going to get insured. I get that with attorneys all the time, that especially ones that don't specialize in probate. They'll say, well, I happen to know blah, blah, blah. And I say, well, you might be right, but if a title company won't insure, the common case is not needing a notice of proposed action, right? You have full authority. And you want to just sell the property, and the executor is the only son, the only heir. There's nobody challenging. There's no objections. And the attorney says, well, easy peasy. We'll sell the property, and he has the authority to do that. Not so fast. Because the title company wants a notice of proposed action, make sure there's nobody lurking out there who claims they're a son or claims they're an ex-wife. And they want that, at least that coverage. And if they require it, like you say, there's no right or wrong. It's just what will work. And that won't work without the 15-day notice.
Yeah. And that's the benefit of going to a different underwriter for different transactions. You may,
yes.
You know, Bill may go to Old Republic on one deal and they may say, we feel a little iffy about that deed, the way it was executed. And
right.
Then you bring it to Alliant and they're like, we don't
yep.
see anything wrong. And that's the difference between Geico and State Farm ensuring you're on a policy. They saw you in one accident. They don't want to insure you. You go to State Farm. Now they want to insure you. It's all the same thing. Insurance is risk and money. So there's a whole other game to it.
And I've had underwriters call me and ask me about the person. Have I met with them? Who is the attorney, or how do I know the attorney? Because if they might take a risk in some cases that they won't in other cases, and they'll make that little bit discretionary in some cases. Augustine says, I'm a realtor who's been inactive for several years. I'm an older agent, 64. Augustine, you're 1 year older than me. So, and I'm old. And you want to partner with other realtors in the probate niche. Glad to have you on this call. Check out our Facebook group, Probate Experts. Reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about how we can help you. And my job is to help everybody here make more income and build more wealth. And probate is the tool I've used to do that. So if you're interested, whether it be just some advice, come on our program, come to my YouTube channel, or you want to talk about being on my probate team, I have room for people in different counties. I'd love to talk about that.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay. Thank you. So, Al, you work with, I'm sure, great realtors. In fact, you introduced me to one, and lousy realtors. What's the common trait amongst the best, and what's the common trait among the not best?
Responsiveness, communication, willingness to learn, willingness to mold. So, that one contact for you, Bill, I mean, when you find one that they get back to you, they email you, you don't have to be on top of them for little things. They understand what lingo is with CMAs and maybe understanding with probate that, like, look, we don't have to know everything about it. And they're not constantly following up with you. They got other leads. Those are really good ones, right? Communication, understanding, and that have a sense of cool, temperament when it comes to things that get emotional. And then I would say on the flip side, I think our profession, and I mean our profession, meaning real estate, is just so high paced, fast. Sometimes impatience. People want this. Where's that? Where's this? Where's that? Title this, that. And a lot of people can just, get crazed out by it. And I've seen that lately. I had one person call me the other day that had just sent a probate over, and they called 3 times in the span of one day asking for what's the update. And on the third call, I thought, all right, this is what we're doing. All right. I haven't even drafted the thing yet. And now I'm going to draft it. Then we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And there's nothing I can do. I mean, I must have over 75 or 50 probates in the law firm already right now. I mean, we got stuff we're working on. So just understanding what's going on. I mean, look, you either can learn from others and what others are doing and what others will explain their experiences on, or it just won't happen. Everybody's got a style. You can't change people and who they are, but if they fit in that role, it's great.
I find it fascinating that you didn't really mention deep knowledge of probate.
No, because you don't have to know. I don't think you have to know that.
Isn't that interesting? Just for all of you to pay attention here, right? The things he mentioned, I just think it's fascinating that it's just the basic fundamentals. Show up on time, be prepared, ask questions if you don't know. Don't pretend you know what you don't know. Be humble. That's 90% of it. And fascinating. Okay. We're coming up on the end here. So I don't have the Al Nicoletti giveaway 10 autographed copies like you have. All I have is other ways to participate. Anybody have any last minute questions? I don't see anything in the chat box. I think we cleared it all up. You guys are welcome to put comments in. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, put questions there, and I'm in communication with Al, and we'll get questions answered afterwards, or if I can help in any way. We do this every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific. We do it at 7 p.m. Eastern time just for Al Nicoletti, because he likes the after hours. Really appreciate him being on the call. In the chat box, we put the link to the Probate Mastery. Love to have you participate in that. We have Probate Experts as the Facebook group. Love to have you there. I'm on social media at Bill Gross EXP. Al Nicoletti, to reach him, you would go to, your website is alnicoletti.com, right? And I'll put that in the chat box as well. Anything else that you want to promote? Any other programs or the Al Nicoletti Show?
Yeah, Al Nicoletti Show. But here's what you do. So everybody's in front of their computer, their phone. Get on your Instagram account and go type in the search bar on Instagram at Attorney Nicoletti. Go in there and hit follow. I drop videos, content, things daily, weekly. I mean, there's just so many things that we're dropping. I push stories out there. Find me on the Facebook, on Instagram at Attorney Nicoletti, on Facebook under Al Nicoletti. And then you can check out the Al Nicoletti Show. It's on iTunes and Spotify. I have guests. I mean, I think I have over 50 episodes. It's blowing up now. But I go live on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. We're actually experimenting with 9 p.m. Bill's probably thinking that. I don't know. I think there's something about more eyeballs at 9 p.m. I'm still experimenting that.
Prime time for television. YouTube's replacing television. It makes sense to me that you'll get passive people. Now, whether you'll get, depends who your audience is, whether you get active agents or not, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I can see everybody's following too. So good job. There we go. That's called calls to action, right? Follow on Instagram. I get the notifications. But subscribe to the iTunes and Spotify, and I'm out there all the time. You catch me on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell. I just drop content. I'm rolling out a whole new thing. I mean, wait till you see it, Bill.
Well, I can't even stand what you've done already. It's been so good. It's too much good stuff to begin with. But going forward, look forward to working with you. Al Nicoletti, the preeminent probate attorney in Florida, as well as a source of education and knowledge on all things probate. Feel free to support him. If I can help, I'm Bill Gross, EXP. Thank you all for being on the call. We do this every week, Thursday, 4 p.m. again.